couple of weeks ago, I got a great opportunity to speak in front of 30 plus entrepreneurs who are doing 6 and 7 figures a year around the areas of belief, perception, self mastery, mindset, and everything that really encompasses that so that they could grow their business. And it was a friend and mentor that asked me to speak at the event, but it was literally at the beginning of the event where he asked me. And I remember him coming up to me. I was in the kitchen. I was just getting some food, getting ready for the event to start, chatting to a friend of mine. And my friend just walked away. He came over to me. He was like, would you like to do a speaking gig over the next couple of days at some point whenever we talk about these specific areas? And my immediate thought in that moment, it was just the afternoon. We just come in from lunch. I was just finishing up, eating some food. It was a beautiful day in LA. And I was just thinking to myself, whoa, I'm not sure if I have anything prepared. And my mind immediately started to find reasons why I shouldn't do it, or I should not, I should find an excuse as to why I couldn't deliver because I didn't have something prepared. And my immediate response was like, whoa, this is an amazing opportunity. This is great, but I don't have anything. And there was like all these questions coming up. So I told him, let it sit with me for a while and I'll get back to him. Now, the reason I share this is because, I've spent hundreds of hours at this point coaching men and some women as well around the areas of self-mastery. And even in that moment, I knew I could deliver. I knew I could do these things, but it was an uncomfortable feeling because I didn't have something and it was very immediate. Now, sometimes they're the best opportunities to fall into because you have less time to think about it. But I immediately had that opportunity to be courageous. And that's really what this video is about, because the strategy is courage. Courage is the default that we need to always come back to, no matter what it is that we do in life. We're always going to have opportunities to be courageous. And courage is the thing that actually drives us forward. It drives us into a higher level of consciousness. If we look at the map of consciousness, you have the survival paradigm at the bottom. You have moving, towards enlightenment and reason at the top. But in the middle, there's that line. And that line is courage. It's the thing that takes you out of fear, out of guilt, out of shame, and into neutrality, into joy, into peace, into love. We must have the courage to be courageous. And in that moment, I had a choice to either go back, be comfortable, or step into this opportunity, step into this version of myself that was unprepared. Now, at this point, I have programmed my mind to really not let myself fall backwards or stay comfortable, because I have built this internal dialogue within myself where the voice that is what I call my higher self, that higher version of me, that further ahead version of me, that has the life I want or everything that I'm moving towards at all times, that voice is loud within my mind. And it makes me uncomfortable to not follow that voice. As uncomfortable as it might be to do the courageous actions, I've been able to program my mind to the point where that voice is extremely loud. And if I don't listen to it, that's actually when I feel the most uncomfortable, which makes my default take actions that are going to be congruent with the person that I say that I'm going to be. And that's a lot of the things that we work on with clients as well, because when you have that voice within you and it's cultivated where it's much, much louder than the voice of comfort, it's very unreasonable for you not to succeed at the things you want to succeed at. So eventually I got to the point where I said yes. I said yes to the gig, and I just looked through a couple of things I had on my laptop and I put together something really fast. That talk is on YouTube. If you want to check it out, I'll link it above here somewhere, and it'll be in the description as well. But that moment was an opportunity for me to step into courage. I was watching a movie with a couple of friends last night. It was the movie Troy. Amazing movie. And on the plane back from Hong Kong a couple of days ago over here to Bali, I watched Gladiator. And both of these movies have a similar theme, right? Similar time where they're set. And it's a really interesting thing to even just view the way things were when it came to war, when it came to power, when it came to just influence in these different areas. And if we look at these movies, right, I'm going to assume that you've seen something along the lines of these movies, whether it's Braveheart, whether it's Troy, whether it's Gladiator, any of these movies, you'll see the men in the movies are courageous by default. They have willpower beyond measures, right? They're fighting for their families, they're fighting for their freedom, they're fighting for their wives, they're fighting for everything possible. They don't procrastinate, they don't get imposter syndrome, they don't get fear the same way, because they're constantly driven by the why that is deep within them. Now, we don't live in a time like that anymore. We're not fighting for our lives. We have life pretty good, pretty simple. We have a lot of comfort. So as men, we must cultivate that willpower within us to be courageous. And courage can be looked at in so many different ways. The courage to be seen. The courage to actually be seen and heard authentically. For you to speak up your opinion, to speak your truth. Tell the world who you are. What you want, what you don't want, what you like, what you don't like. That takes courage. A lot of people don't do those things. The courage to be misunderstood for the things that you speak, for how you act, how you show up, who you are. Not everybody's going to understand you. Not everybody's going to like you, and that's totally fine. But that takes courage. Otherwise, you fall into the gray area of trying to please everybody. And that you become kind of this vanilla type person that kind of gets along with everybody, but really has nobody close to them. It takes courage to be misunderstood. It takes courage to speak your truth. It takes courage to take the big risks. It takes courage to move across the world. It takes courage to be the person that you truly want to be. If we could default back to anything, when we're on this progression of becoming a higher version of ourselves, actualizing the vision that we have for our lives, living and breathing our purpose, serving humanity, showing up authentically, growing our income, becoming more secure, getting into that dream relationship, all of these things take courage. So courage is like the default strategy. Think about how you could be more courageous even today after you watch this video. Ponder that thought. How could I be more courageous today? Is there something I can do? Is there something I can say? Is there something I can post to showcase to myself that I am a courageous person? Because if there's anything that you could identify, identity is so powerful, but if there's anything that you could identify with, it would be to be a courageous person, where you see the risks in front of you, you see the opportunities in front of you, and you build that internal dialogue where you know that you are courageous enough to at least step in that direction. And that's all you need. Because think about it from a levels of consciousness perspective. Like we talked about, it's right there in the middle. It's the thing that separates the survival paradigm of guilt and shame and fear and doubt into reason, joy, love, neutrality. That's the separating line. So how can we default to courage at every moment? Some things I like to do with this is, when I do a meditation in the morning, is that after the meditation is finished, I would put on a song from Braveheart, from Gladiator. Now We Are Free from Gladiator is one of my favorite songs. It's amazing. It's so powerful. And even just listening to that, visualizing yourself as the warrior, going into this week, going into this day as that warrior, and understanding that, yes, we live in a modern age where we don't have the same threats all around us, but how can we bring that sense of courage into everything that we're going to execute on today, and just modernize it in such a way where we know we're going to war, but we're going to war with that passive version of ourselves. We're going to war with that comfortable version of ourselves. We're going to war with that complacent version of ourselves, so that we can execute and actualize this vision and mission that we have for ourselves from that stern place of courage. Just one thing you can do today, one thought that you can have on a day-to-day basis. How can I be more courageous today? How can I have more courage to invest in myself? How can I have more courage to get the support that I need? How can I have more courage to take the big risks? How can I have the courage to believe in myself? All of these things come back to courage. And as I said to my friend and mentor that I would do a presentation, of course I was nervous, but there was a part of me that was satisfied at the fact that I saw the opportunity, I got the opportunity, and I took it. With no notice, with no preparation, only a couple of slides that I had put together for something else, and just whipped it up into something. And the fear, the anxiety, all of that went away. I had spoken in front of people before, but not people of this caliber and not in this setting. So it was a nice moment for me. And it took courage to step into that. So I share this with you in the hopes that today can be a courageous day for you. Tomorrow can be a courageous day for you. This week, this month, this year, this life can be courageous for you. Because as I stood up there and I delivered this message, it all goes away. And all you're left with afterwards is that feeling of, I did what I said I was going to do, and I stepped into the highest version of me. And we can do that at every moment. And the more we bring conscious awareness to those times where we do that, the more we solidify that identity within ourselves, that we are somebody who is committed to this path and committed to stepping into this version of ourselves. And when we do that, we build a self-narrative, we build an identity around that. I am a courageous person. That is your default. You raise your standards, you raise your baseline. That's a very powerful place to be, because we will always fall to the level of our standards. We will always come back to baseline. So if your baseline is high and you come back to that courage aspect where you are a courageous person, that's your baseline. You build that self-narrative within your mind that you are this type of person, and it gets more uncomfortable for you not to do the thing than it is to do the thing. That's a place of power within yourself. That's a place of internal mastery, because at least you know that the voice that's going to be the loudest within you is going to be the one that's pulling you forward to where you want to be. That's where you want to be. So that's it for today's video. I want to hear what you're thinking. Get in the comments below. Very curious to open up a dialogue here. How could you be more courageous today? If you drop it in the comments, you're solidifying that in your mind and in your life. But anytime we write things down, we post it out there, we put it out into the public, we solidify it. We hold ourselves accountable to it. So I'd encourage you to do the same. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, like the video, and I will see you in the next video.